then I'm thinking of families. You have so many other priorities to worry about.
Right.
And finances are like the biggest thing. I was like, let me create a company that, it's a one-stop shop. And not only what I do personally as, financial coaching, because that was the biggest thing.
hmm
A financial advisor, a lot of people ask me, well, what's the difference? Number one, the biggest difference is,
Yo, what up, guys? Welcome back to the show. Today we have on Jonathan Rosario with Freedom Financial Services out of North Carolina. My man, Jonathan, how you doing today?
pretty good, pumped, excited to be on. Thank you for having me.
Nice, nice. Yeah. For those of you in the past that have been part of this channel, it's always fun when we have a financial services interview on deck. So let's get into it, Jonathan. Tell the folks out there exactly, what it is that you do right now.
Yeah, of course. So as of right now, I do have my full-time job. I'm a network engineer for a big bank out of the United Kingdom. But I also I'm in the military, but on the part-time side.
Nice.
And I'm doing IT on that. But I have the pleasure of working remotely at home, and that's where my after hours. I put my dedication in Freedom Financial Services, and it's something that I had a vision while being in the military, and I just didn't know where to go with it, and being, when I was active duty, it was, you don't get paid a lot, which you do the job because you love it. And, I'm grateful for the opportunities that it gave me while I was active duty. And, just building those core disciplines and, camaraderie, things in that nature, which transcended into what I do now. And, being a veteran and providing these services, you just like to give back,
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. And thank you for your service, by the way.
oh, thank you for the support.
Yeah. Yeah, man. So you started with your Freedom Financial Services pretty recently, is that right?
Yes. So this is something that I started, I would say about a couple of months ago, 6 months ago. Uh,
Nice.
but but I've been doing financial coaching for about 2 years. And I started with family first, because for me, I had my experiences of, not knowing financial literacy. They don't teach you that in
Mm,
college.
right.
So, you have to figure it out yourself. And, it was just a matter of, I was in a place where my credit wasn't that good, but I was
Mhm.
making, I graduated school, because of the GI Bill from, the military. And, while in school, I learned about finances. That was my minor.
Nice.
But the best part was when I was in school, I went to school in New York City. So being
Nice.
in near the Wall Street, where the heart of financial, services or finances in general, you just get that you want to be at that level of, financial freedom, that type of
Right.
lifestyle. So, you know, it was just an idea at that time. And then, like I said, I just got to a point where I didn't want to work the 9 to 5 for the rest of my life.
Right.
And
Right.
I needed to learn more in depth on finances, how money is moved, how the banking system works, and just a little bit about everything. And I got to give credit to where it's due. And Uncle G, Grant Cardone,
Yeah. There you go.
got me on the hype of multifamily. And, I listen, I this is what I tell about everyone. You got to invest in your self-development. And
Hmm.
it sucks, but I used the credit card to buy that program to learn about multifamily, how to structure a deal and all that stuff. So it was literally, I tell you not, like a good 2 to 3 years of just self-development, man, going to real
Yeah.
estate seminars, and just being like a sponge, networking events. And I remember when I was in the military,
Hmm.
and the frustration for me was, I had to deal with an accountant for my taxes. I had to
Hmm.
deal with, so many different people, to achieve, whatever I wanted to do financially.
Hmm.
So my biggest idea was I wanted to create a company that it was just a one-stop shop. So it gives the person at least less stress, and a company that they have their portal, their login information, upload their documents, and then request whatever services, and then that head department would utilize the documents that are on that client portal, and whatever extra they need, they would reach out to the client.
Right,
So
right.
you're not dealing with five different people.
Yeah,
And it's just, then I'm thinking of families. You have so many other priorities to worry about.
right.
And finances are like the biggest thing. So I was like, let me create a company that it's a one-stop shop. And not only what I do personally as financial coaching, because that was the biggest thing.
Hmm.
A financial advisor, a lot of people ask me, well, what's the difference? Number one, the biggest difference is I'm not licensed. Financial advisor and a financial planner is.
Hmm.
Now, the reason why I'm not licensed is because now I could become licensed, but for the fact that is when you have a financial planner or advisor, they just advise you things. They give you recommendations.
Hmm.
What I do is I teach you, but I also recommend.
Right, right.
So that's the biggest difference. My goal is not to have you as a customer for the rest of my life, so you keep on paying stuff. My goal is to teach you so you could do it on your own.
Dude, that's awesome. I love that. And with the clients that you've had so far, what are you seeing that they're kind of, using you for the most? You said you're this, one-stop shop, right? I completely get that because I come from the accounting world. So it's always like this whole thing with between accounting, you go to this person for accounting, go to this person for finance, right? And sometimes these business owners, these people don't know the difference. Like it all sounds like the same thing. So with your clients, what are you seeing that they're having the most help with, or they're
So
or what are you most helping with figuring out that they need the most help with, that they've been struggling with, stuff that they don't even know they're struggling with, right?
yeah, no, it's basically comes down to budgeting. People
Budgeting. Okay.
aren't keeping track of the money that comes in and the money that goes out. And then once you get a picture of that, then you could get a reevaluation of where you could, say, for instance, like an auto loan, where you could refinance,
Hmm.
or where you could save money in certain areas. And I would say the hardest thing for people to do is not use a debit card,
Okay.
because
Okay.
the biggest thing that irks me the most, you're gonna spend like a phone bill
Hmm.
every month. So instead of using an ACH or having it pulled out of your checking account or
Hmm.
debit card, why don't you just use a credit card to
Yeah.
get either cash back or rewards points for using it? It's you just the biggest thing is a lot of people aren't responsible. And
Hmm.
when they make that charge, they don't know how to pay it off right away. And that's when it becomes an issue. So the biggest thing is like a discipline factor. And
Hmm.
as I go with my clients, teaching them, you know, as much as there's a bunch of tools that applications that you could use that help you with the budgeting, not just the Excel spreadsheet that I give you. You could use an app
Hmm.
and then just connect everything to it. And it just makes it easier for yourself. So you know what's coming in and what's coming out.
Right, right. And the people that are hiring you and signing up, for your services, that's great for them. But what about the people that are like kind of on the fence, or they're just totally confused about what you do? What would you say is the most common misconception about your field?
So a lot of people, the misconception is, oh, I could do it myself. So why am I going to pay you?
Okay.
So,
So what
and
do you have to
then,
say to that? What do you have to say to that?
so my rebuttal is yes, but look at how long you've been in the situation. Obviously, you haven't done it yourself.
Hmm. Right,
My responsibility is to hold your hand every month to go over what you need to go through your budget or, you know, fixing up your credit, because we do credit counseling too. So, you know, it would that's the biggest factor is me holding your hand.
right.
Because if you haven't done it now, you're not going to do it later. And the biggest factor that you should be thinking about is time, something that you will
Hmm.
never get back. So why don't you take the time to be proactive in fixing your budget and your finances now so you could have options to maybe invest in real estate or, buy a business. So now you have a game plan to retire long term, but you also now are investing in other streams of income where you could retire early.
Right. So that's interesting. Back to how you got your start kind of with financial services, right? And with that idea in your head, and then now you're seeing it kind of form. How did you make that jump, that transition into actually doing it? Like what was that like? Do you have a team now? Is that right?
Yes, in which I got to give them credit,
Mm-hmm.
and I went through a good chunk of time thinking that I could do it myself.
Mm-hmm.
And it's impossible.
Okay.
You need to have a team that you could trust that shares the same vision as you. So you don't have to teach them, now, they can't obviously read your head, but that's where you have your collaboration time once a week, so, you figure
Right.
out, what needs to be fixed or what we have to do now to prepare for the future as we grow as a company. So we're not missing clients that do need help and we're able to service them on an instantaneous basis.
Right. Right. And here's a big question I have whenever I talk to someone in the financial industry. You know, it's an age-old business, basically been here for thousands of years, right? Is there anything right now that you disagree with in the industry?
uh, Man, there's so much, and now we're all glued to YouTube and
Hmm.
things in that nature. So you don't know what's right and what's the best way, but
Hmm.
you got to take it with a grain of salt. So, the biggest thing was IUL, Index Universal Life Insurance, which infinite banking. But, you got to learn the terminology, how it's worked itself. IUL hasn't been around the same time as a whole life insurance policy.
Hmm.
So, me personally, like I learned a little bit about each department. Now, I'm not a professional. That's why I have partners that are professionals in those departments.
Right,
But
right.
a lot of people, I would say the biggest thing is that you need insane amount of money to buy an investment property or,
Okay.
get into things in that nature.
Yeah, yeah. Let's talk a little bit more about that because you said, you took the advice from Uncle G and you started getting into that, right? Talk a little bit more about that, man.
Yeah, no, I'd love to because listen, you could look through every generational wealth family. Real
Hmm.
estate is where you hold it down, generational wealth. That's your where
Right.
you achieve financial freedom. So for me, I just shot for the moon and went to multifamily.
Yeah.
Now I'm saying you can't do it, but you need capital to get into that space. So, like I said, I went to a bunch of seminars that learned all types of real estate. Like, I did Chris Crone, how to do lease option,
Hmm.
program. So I know how to do rent to own. I never even knew that it existed. So
Right, right.
learned how to do that. Then, I went into Pace Morby's program, how to do creative finance, where it's subject to or seller finance.
Okay.
And now I have three different types of mentors that I learned how to do real estate. Now I could do a hybrid. So my last deal that I did in Illinois
Hmm.
was creative finance. So I did a subject to, and you know, I was like, you know what? I want to maximize as much return on investment as I can. Time frame is not big. Usually I'm long. For me, real estate, I'm always going long,
Hmm.
unless
And
I'm
you
doing
said,
short.
and real quick, you said a subject to, I have no idea what that is. For the other people that don't know what that is, please explain.
Yeah, sure. So when you're doing subject to, well, creative finance, you have subject
Okay.
to and you have seller finance. So
Okay.
seller finance is if the seller owns the property outright, there's no mortgage to it, and they want to make a deal where they become the bank. So
Hmm.
they'll create the terms, and then you just negotiate and then you'll pay them. But they give you the deed for the house, so you own the house. Now, subject to is the person that's selling a house has a mortgage on it. So,
Hmm.
there's still an existing mortgage and they're wanting to sell the house, but I want to keep that mortgage because the interest rate is at 2.5%. That was my last
Right.
deal. So now I'm getting a property in a market that's 7% without putting 25% down because in commercial real estate, you'd have to put that much.
Hmm.
Now, my down payment was a third of that. My interest rate is 2.5%. And, I had only do minor cosmetics to the property. So subject to is there's an existing loan on the house and you're getting their login information and you're making the monthly payments on that mortgage yourself, and you still
Right.
have the deed to the house.
Right, man. So making these moves, even getting Grant Cardone, you mentioned you did it on a credit card, right? I
Mhm.
like I said, I come from the accounting world, so like a lot of my accounting, connections and friends or clients, they're really conservative with spending money or with investing, right? So for you, what, because you got both sides of the coin here, right? So what would you say to a client if they said, or let me put it like this, what should people be less afraid of when it comes to investing?
I would say people should be less afraid of, you know, because this is the one thing I was afraid of.
Hmm.
Am I going to get a tenant in that house? And what helped me with the lease option is, you know, in the contract, it stated that, with the down payment and they're expected to purchase the home at the end of the lease agreement,
Hmm.
they're responsible for the interior and the exterior of the home. So now I don't really have to
Interesting.
do the
Okay.
maintenance or anything, but by law, if it's life-threatening inhabitable household, then I would have to, step in and fix whatever needs to be fixed.
Right,
But
right.
when I do that lease option, they're responsible for everything on the inside and outside of the home. So they
Yeah.
treat it
Let's
like
say even if the air condition breaks. Let's say
they
the air condition breaks.
they take care of it.
Dude, that's nice. Okay.
Yeah. So now I don't have any overhead. from the minute I got the tenant in there. It's a 15-year lease. She's in there for 15 years. She's been paying on time. I got the house. Now, if she fixed things up, I'll credit her at the end of the lease for when she purchases the home.
Right,
But
right,
that's the biggest. A lot of people are afraid of, can I get a tenant? And I hope my tenant isn't horrible.
right.
That now I have to worry about eviction and stuff like that. So that's the biggest fear. And you don't want to fail because you're using money that you have sweat equity in, and that's why to be honest, it took me about a year to pull the trigger on a deal before, doing my first property. But I
Yeah.
followed the numbers, and the numbers don't lie.
Hmm.
In accounting, so it's black and white,
Yeah, yeah.
So, luckily I was diligent. I did the numbers, and it's a my first great investment property that I did, that I'm cash flowing about 400 a month. And that's not even the only thing. She gave me a $12,000 deposit for the property that I keep.
Right,
It's,
right.
so it's, listen, you could get into real estate, especially now. It's more, I would say, easily attainable than it's been in the past because of the creative financing. And these sellers are now realizing that it's harder to sell these properties and prices are coming down. So they have to resort to creative financing.
Right. Interesting, dude. That's super useful information, man. Y'all go look at that right there. And
Oh,
yeah. So with on this show, one of the topics we talk about, especially, in like you said, real estate is networking, right? So for you, what's your main method of networking with these real estate people, these real estate folks?
oh man, like I gotta say, and it's funny because before I went to college, I was the biggest introvert, like
Yeah.
I'm staying in my own bubble and that's it. But I gotta say, what broke me out of my shell was doing a public speaking class. And,
Nice.
I was the vice president of the Student Veterans Association for the Pace University chapter. And, it forced me to speak to high level individuals like CEOs and stuff like that. And, you
Right.
know, and asking them what was their biggest, I would say, inhibitor when being starting a company or moving up in life. And they were
Hmm.
like, networking. It's basically
Interesting.
who whether it be a job or, you know, doing real estate or whatever the case may be.
Yep.
So I started that. And then after that, moving towards you know, going like on the internet community. So like for instance, like if there's a market that I want to invest in, then
Hmm.
I'll go on Facebook and go on that community and start, first I'll start helping
Yep.
people asking questions, what do I do for this? If I have a property in my name and I want to turn it into um, a real estate investment property, and I'm buying a primary residence that I'm moving into. Well, how do I change that from my personal name to my LLC?
Right.
Well,
Right.
there's a couple of things you could do. You could do a land trust, and then you could transfer the deed into that land trust. So this I do that, but I would say the Facebook communities and then going to like real estate events, I'll do that. And then, I'll speak on behalf, pretty much what we're doing here, and just,
Yeah.
teach, man. That's the biggest thing I love doing because I'm a
Hmm.
sergeant in the military, so
Yeah.
I teach those soldiers. So now those principles I bring to, people like you and me.
Nice. I love it, man. And by the way, guys, he just dropped some dime advice there. I mean, that's how I got one of my first clients when I started is I joined a Facebook community and I started answering these different marketing questions, right?
Yes,
So,
sir.
I don't get on Facebook that much anymore, but you can bring that same thing to Instagram, bring that same thing to LinkedIn. Use the new app Threads, right? I made a video about that yesterday. Like, how do you grow on Threads? Well, just go under people's stuff and start commenting, interact, right? Get out there. Even
Yep.
if you can't make it to the Grant Cardone conference, right? Figure out who is going and start, networking with them. So
Yeah.
that's awesome stuff, man.
Yeah, and also to mention, I did go to the growth conference because
Yeah,
I in Miami. I was living
nice.
in South Florida at the time, and
Oh, perfect.
I was I invested in one of his syndications, and they gave real estate investors a discounted price on tickets. So I brought two
Nice.
other people with me that were interested in real estate, and I paid for them to go, and it was the best experience ever. But
Dude, I bet.
as
That's
much as
awesome.
it is a great experience, I gotta say is when it comes down to it, if you don't apply the principles,
Yeah.
it's it's all it's that rah rah rah. But if you don't take action, it that's the hardest part, but that's the most beneficial part.
Dude, I agree with that because a lot of people, pick on that community of like speakers and talkers like that. Oh, they just have these like motivators going up there, right? And yeah, it's motivation, but if you don't use it properly, you don't take action, then like you just become one of those people that are just kind of in the room just paying for the ticket, getting no results,
Exactly.
right? Or those people that are paying for the ticket and then calling it a scam, right?
Yeah,
So that's another thing I've seen is that people call things a scam that aren't really a scam. They're just not applying the principles. So
exactly. Exactly. I agree. And listen, you are going to fail. There's going to be mistakes that happen, but as long as you learn from those mistakes,
right.
and you have mentors or you have people that know more than you, then you're going to be all right. They're going to help you go through whatever issues. I'll be a mentor. I don't mind, I don't mind giving up my free time because I love teaching, and I want you to avoid the things that I made on the
Mm-hmm.
journey.
Mm-hmm. That's a good point. Speaking of mistakes, and especially for the entrepreneurs out there that are going through it every day, right? Hearing no's all the time. What are some of the biggest, hurdles that you ran into, or for you specifically? It's great to ask you this question. What's one of the biggest financial mistakes that you learned from and got past?
Oh yeah, man. It was the main reason why I started this company too, is,
Mm-hmm.
while I was in the military, my credit went to shit, and,
Mm-hmm.
I didn't realize the power of credit. And, you know, it took me a while, and it didn't happen once but happened twice. So I
Okay.
recovered two shitty credits, from one, the first time being a 480, and then the second time was 560. So
Right.
to growing up as a kid and not know being responsible, well, thank God that happened years ago.
Right.
So now you understand on how credit works, and not only on the personal side, but then it transcends onto the business side, where you'll get three times as much more on a credit limit, than you would do on personal, because they know businesses have more expenses than personal expenses.
Yep.
So you know, that's the one thing I do, is I set people up on the personal side, so then they could move all their expenses to the business side, and now you're moving money smart, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And that I gotta say that was the biggest life lesson. And then, because if you don't have good credit, you're limited on getting loans, credit cards,
Right.
and it's just a struggle, man. It's a struggle.
Right. It's just, cash in, cash out. You can't really make these big maneuvers without credit, right?
Yep.
So awesome stuff, man. We're getting to the end of the interview here, and I want to give you a chance to just, give a key piece of advice to the people listening out there? I know a lot of entrepreneurs are in my network. So, just from your standpoint, what's something you want to leave people with, my man?
Yeah, no, the biggest thing, don't be afraid to ask for help. You know,
Mm, mm, mm,
trying to
mm.
figure it out yourself is only going to prolong you being successful or where you want to be or what goals you want to accomplish. Reach out, ask for help. You aren't born on knowing how to do real estate, how to do, rental arbitrage or, things in that nature. Ask there's no such thing as a dumb question. That's the biggest
Yeah,
thing kids I could say. And I'm telling you, the people that where you want to be will help you because they know what it's like when they were at your level. So, that's the biggest thing. Like when I go to these events and people ask me, are just question after question, I'm like, I'm loving
mhm.
it because I'm teaching you, I'm molding you so then you could be successful a lot faster than I was.
Right, right. And especially with, finances, man, a lot of people don't like to open their books. A lot of people
No.
don't like to open their books. It's worse than going to the dentist. It's worse than going.
Oh, yeah, no, absolutely, man. And it's funny you say that because I would say that's the biggest thing that a lot of people are hesitant because they feel embarrassed, and
Mhm.
I get it. Listen, but we all make mistakes, and if you don't, like I said, be proactive in fixing them now, it's just going to prolong the negative effects that it comes with. It's the number one reason why people get divorced is because of finances.
Right, right.
It's not only that, then it creates depression, stress. You know, why wouldn't you want to get a financial coach that'll teach you life lessons about financial literacy, especially someone that went through it himself,
Mhm.
you know, because like I said, if you go to financial planner or financial advisor, like they're only pushing products,
Right, right,
they're not teaching. Well, I can't speak for everyone, but they never been through bad credit or in default in whatever loans or repossession, and know
right.
what it feels like to be in the shit.
Dude, that's awesome, man. Well, hey guys, I have Jonathan's info linked below. His company's at is on the screen there. Go give him a follow. And Jonathan, any last words before we go here?
Yeah, sure, absolutely. Like I said, like Juan just said, freedomfinancialservices.org. We're on pretty much all social media platforms, LinkedIn, Facebook, and Instagram. I'm going to be doing a monthly, pretty much coaching topic that's free to everyone. It's on the Facebook scheduled event. There's part three, but there's recordings for one and two for how to get into real estate. Um, Part three will be on Tuesday at 7 p.m. But yeah, subscribe to the page that we got on our website, so you get free financial newsletter every month. And don't hesitate to ask. Everything's there. My profile's on the website, so you can reach out to me, email, whatever the case may be. I'm available.
Don't be afraid to ask, guys. You heard it from the boss. And
Yes, sir.
thank you for your service, by the way.
No, thank you for the support, brother. I appreciate you.
Awesome. Thank you, Jonathan.
All right.